folks, what's good? It's your boy Jesimein. Today, I'm making this video because I know a lot of people have been asking. They were like, bro, are you going to the ETF? Sadly, no. It's not because I didn't get picked or anything. I don't know if I would have got picked or not, but I didn't even apply. Too much stuff was going on and this, that, and whatever. But I'm going to give you guys the next best thing. Hopefully, devs, if you see this, you know what I'm saying? This is like an outsourced addition to your ETF. I'm like the substitute, you know what I'm saying? But I'm going to make this video basically what I would say or what I would bring up or what I would suggest if I went to ETF. I didn't script this and write this because literally that's what I'm just going to be flying out and this is what I'm going to bring up, right? So first things first, obviously I'm a PvP player. Baseline, PvE players, I'm not going to say I wouldn't be the best representation of you guys, but it wouldn't be as authentic as my PvP standpoint. But I have a little suggestions on PvE. So, okay, so first things first, PvP. If they ask us questions, obviously I would formulate my answer around what they're asking. But like, let's say they said it's open floor, open mic. What do you want to say? So first things first, I believe PvP is gonna be tuned in some way. I know that. I know they haven't did their massive PvP patch, so there's not too much I can say right now. But if I was to implement on that, what would I add? First off, I'm cool with the 3 Dark Zone idea. I've always been, it's cool to switch off every now and then, but somehow, some way, right? And obviously I'm not a developer, so I don't know the extent of what they can do, but I would take away 1 Dark Zone and have 2 Dark Zones so that more players can go in it, and so 1 can be normalized, 1 can be occupied, right? So that we don't lose that for the people who love normalized DZ, right? I would increase the player count. That is a huge thing. I know it's probably stressful because people don't want to get ultra ganked in server, but I would increase the amount. I don't know what to. I won't necessarily do it to the same as Division 1, but I don't know. Try it, you know what I'm saying? Or I would do something along the lines that at least bring a game mode that has more players, right? If you can't do it in the Dark Zone, formulate something that has to do with a lot more players. I think the player scarcity overall is a big issue that people have complaints with. The Dark Zones feel dry and all this stuff, okay? Also, make it a little easier to find manhunts and rogues. I think because it's so hard to find them and keep up with it or know where players are at, that checkpoint fights always happen. That's the only way to get constant Dark Zone PvP, right? Or have more incentives in the DZ that bring players together. Supply drops are underwhelming. Landmarks in the ODZ are like, bro, they're harder than the raid, so stay away from those. So you're kind of like, you might as well make the map smaller because landmarks and like somewhere far on the edge of the DZ, nobody's gonna go there. There's no incentive to go there. There's no exploration incentive. There's no loot incentive. There's no PvP incentive. So there's a lot of DZ that's not necessarily being used. If you can either add incentives to those areas, I don't know, like special bosses, just something that all players like, right? Let's say I want to go farm a certain thing. I know that there's a boss that spawns over here in the DZ that drops a certain exotic or mods or something. Make places in the DZ have some form of incentive so players will have a more reason to go in there, right? Like let's say there's a boss at one landmark that only drops ARs or only drops, I don't know, knee pads or something, so that people have loot pools so they can farm for the thing they want more. Because RNG is so crazy anyways, that can give the incentive for PvE players and PvP players to be at certain parts of the map. Especially if like, let's say you guys just released a brand new AR or something that's really good. Players are going to be around that boss area, which is going to incite PvP. The drops are going to be contaminated. It's going to start the whole extraction field again, right? Especially if you add new exotics and stuff into that. So that's how I would fix the checkpoint camping instance. Spread players out, obviously more players, and have them reason to spread out through the DZ. And also implement, like if you see a manhunt, they pop up on the map. I don't care. It shouldn't be faded. They should be exactly where they're at. I know that's kind of harsh, but that's the whole premise. You have to feel like somebody's always coming after you. Not that they're fast traveling checkpoint to checkpoint to try to find you. And rogues, like you can't even see them on the map really sometimes. So that part. Okay. That's the technical part of the DZ. Now, as far as PvP, buff SMGs. I feel SMGs are just so underwhelming right now. Buff SMGs, damage-wise. The crit chance and stuff can stay the same, just damage. The damage just needs a little bit of up. Change rifle from crit damage to armor damage so that they're better at stripping off armor, but then they're just regular when the health is. So it just gives them more umph from far away, right? Like you can out DPS a rifle from rifle range with the AR Eagle Bearer. So give it armor damage, give it some incentives where it knocks off shield and it makes people back up, right? It doesn't have to do that much damage to health, but just necessarily make it where it rips armor, so it gives it some use, right? LMGs are good, as is. Shotguns are okay. ARs are obviously where they should be. Cool, I'm not tripping off of that. Regular marksman rifles need some kind of buff. I don't know what you can do, but the Nemesis, it's like don't run any other sniper besides Nemesis, and I don't like that. Like the M1A and all the rifles and marksman rifles need to be tuned somehow. So that's just to add into diversity, right? Because the more diversity in the game, the more people are excited because they get to play their role. Some people don't like running ARs. Some people don't like running skills. Some people don't like running just Nemesis. Give more players more options to do good in a fight, and people won't complain about the PvP. It'll feel 1.7-ish where you don't know what you're coming across. Like, I liked how survival felt in D1 because every weapon did its job. Does that make sense? The meta wasn't necessarily the meta because everything worked. That's what we kind of liked about the beginning of the PvP lifecycle Division 2 because there were so many different guns that actually worked. You know what I'm saying? So that part, okay? Now, as far as PvP and conflict, I think conflict shouldn't be normalized. I know, I don't think conflict should be unnormalized. It should be just head to head. Go that should be like, right. That's a PvP dedicated mode. That should be as hardcore as it can get, right? Even the Dark Zone's not dedicated to PvP. So if you can somehow manage, no, actually don't, because I don't want to split the player base, which is the whole point of 3DZs. Why I said that, but conflict needs to be unnormalized. Make it so people can go with their builds, have fun. So the people who are going into the Dark Zone for straight PvP have different incentives, right? I'm not saying it'll take from the Dark Zone, but it'll buff up the conflict servers, period. And I mean, at this point in the game's life, you're better off having brackets in conflict than just making it all normalized, because it makes people have to have two versions of a build, which is already hard to get in the first place because of RNG, and you don't want to have to roll certain stuff off to have a good conflict build. So there's that. As far as game modes, I don't know. They're already planned that. I wouldn't even speak on that. As far as PvE, now, I think there should be more 8-player PvE modes. Not raid, but just missions, like really cool missions or something, or like some kind of hub or some kind of thing where players can interact. Maybe in the open world, you can have it instance based, where if people are free roam in the open world, that there's multiple players, stuff like that. Some kind of event that has more players, because having 8 players on a team is really cool. And I think the more you have of that, the more excited PvEers are going to be on that sense. As far as difficulty in PvE, everything checks out except the ODZ. Landmarks, everything else in the game, difficulty is fine. The loot is obviously fine as far as drops, but quality, which is where, if you want to eliminate that, I would feel like back in the day when they did incursions, how it was like loot drop pools. Implement some kind of loot pool somewhere so people can farm for what they want instead of spending all night to look for one piece of mod. You know what I'm saying? Just since we don't have an optimization station, we don't have our dream builds anyways, so at least give us like something to farm for, right? Like if you want the Eagle Bear, you go to the raid. If you want the Sweet Dreams, you go to DC. You know what I'm saying? Like specifics for certain gear pieces if you don't have the materials to craft. And on top of that, I would change the electronics reroll, bro. Like, it's outrageous. Way too much. 60 is way too much to reroll gear, man. I spend more time walking around aimlessly looking for electronics. That's not fun, And I think a lot of people can speak on having to run solar farm over and over and over just to get enough to roll 3 things, right? You don't want to do that. People want to be engaged in the game. I get there's time to farm and stuff, but it's already either you make it easier to get electronics or you lower the requirement, because it is a lot and it's stressful when you roll twice and all of a sudden you have nothing else. You have to go spend another 40 minutes just to get another roll. That's that. As far as gameplay, okay, so, all right, hold on, brace yourself, Jesimein. I don't think you should be able to have crazy DPS and crazy heals. I think that they should raise the requirements for chem heals. Chem heals is specific. Everything else is pretty much check out. but I don't think it's fun for one build to do everything. And the 3711 meta, like it does everything, right? Or was it 3117, whatever it is, I don't even know. But that Eagle Bear on the ropes compensated spotter build setup with ridiculous 140k plus heals. Yeah, I think that you should tone down the heal part. If they're gonna do that much burst DPS, they should have to sacrifice, right? And having just bare minimum skill power and being able to have that is ridiculous. Now, on the other hand, if you don't want to necessarily change that, I would make skill build like, okay, make their, okay, you don't have to necessarily buff skills, just make there be mods that go up to like 3300, 3400 that have crazy amounts for people who want to spec fully into skill power, because there's no way you're breaking 3500 raw skill power while having ridiculous amounts of damage and stuff. So it'll bring back the holy trio, you know what I'm saying? You have the DPS, the tank, then you have the skill build. Bring that back for the people who are pushing 3500 skill power, people who are pushing 490k toughness and stuff with their Eagle Bear build. It's, you know, they get everything. They get tankiness, they get heals, and they have damage, whereas skill builds would just have a skill. And I know there's skills that can necessarily one tap and stuff, but overall, for players to step into their roles and not step into one major role that covers all three, because then what's the point of running anything else, right? And what's the point of having a build when one build rules over all? So that's that. Nerf Bombardier. I don't feel bad for saying that. Nerf Bombardier. Even Nerf Foam. I feel Foam's extremely strong. I know it's strong because I've used it. Foam and Bombardier need to get looked at. Seekers are, I'm fine with them. As far as skills, you need to buff the Fire Starter chem, buff the Oxidizer chem in PvP. And yeah, pretty much everything checks out for that. What else I would say is quality of life. Now, as far as stash space, this has always been something that we've always talked about, that a lot of people have always had issues with. I feel stash space will be increased, so I don't really need to ask about that at some point, because it was like that with Division 1. I feel like loot just hoards up. I'm a loot hoarder. Whoa. I am a loot hoarder, so I never have space for anything, and it's kind of annoying sometimes with mods and stuff how that works. So maybe a little bit of quality of life fixes on that. Yeah, and I mean, we have a really good amount of stash space. I just feel like how much loot you have to hoard because you're so worried about missing a roll, something along those lines. A big thing: stop putting the best loot in the vendor, because then loot becomes time gated, right? Like that 30% armor mod, like on a chest piece, you can't find nothing like that in the game. That Gillipad pack everybody's wearing, you can't find anything like that in the game. It's like you have to be in a certain clan at a certain time, which causes people to leave clans and switch over. You don't want to do that for the best loot in the game. The best loot in the game should be grinded for, not bought. You know what I'm saying? The best pieces everybody has is based off of something they bought in the vendor. The Gila backpack, the 30% armor chest, the 20% on the backpack armor. Like, all those stuff is like, if you don't have a clan, let's say you're playing it the right way and you're not just joining a clan to leave. If you don't have a clan, you miss out on the best gear that gives everybody a tremendous amount of advantage over you in all the game, right? In PvE and PvP. Change that. Or make it more often. If you're going to do it that way and it's just algorithm, whatever, bring back some of the pieces people miss, because some people work or whatever don't see. Like, at least make it fair, because I see too many 30% armor. I don't have it, right? And I have like a 16%. They almost have double my armor on a roll just because they bought it. And stuff like that is super unfair for people who have terrible luck. It's not RNG if you could buy it like that, right? So I understand good pieces, but not the absolute best rolls in the game that you don't find anywhere else. Like, I don't think I've ever seen somebody anywhere find another chest piece that has 30%. Anybody, on any video, on any situation, or any message, anything. So something about that. Or in like, if you have to absolutely put the best gear, why is it not in the level 30 clan vendor? I don't understand. So whatever you can put in the system for that, that's what I would put. Game modes, I would add survival. I feel like survival would immediately just draw in a bunch of people. Please, if you do survival, make it more battle royale-ish. I'm not saying make it a battle royale only, but more battle royale-ish. Don't make it a meta where, like, in Division 1, you just got a sniper and you're pretty much GG. No, make it you find guns randomly. I think that'll be way cooler. I think that'll be more exciting and more replayability and less speed run based. You see what I'm saying? Division 1 turned to speed run based, whereas it should have been survivalish. You know what I'm saying? So something along those lines, and add more players. Please, at least 30 players. At least 30 players. So yeah, that add some more FXs for the skills, because I don't know where those are at. I don't know if you guys are planning to do it at special events, but I have a lot of people asking me, where do you get the visual effects for this, that? I don't know. Maybe some incentives, you know what I'm saying? Maybe some weekly like super bosses or something, some world event bosses that you could fight. Maybe they're like extremely hard, that you know, really nice team to fight, and you can get like a cosmetic or something, or like, you know, something along those lines. Like maybe it's just a giant loot pool that you can grind for every so often to get those visual effects and stuff. Like let's say you bring back a cleaner boss or something, like it's like a fire chemtrail for your seeker or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Just cool things that people can collect and show off vanity wise and feel cool. Especially when it comes to cosmetics. Like I feel like there can be some really cool cosmetics. The BTSU gloves showcase the coolness you guys can really make with like the visual effects, like more stuff like that. What else would I bring up? The audio bugs fixed, so I'm cool on that. I don't know. This is the part where I would tell you guys, also use this video to put your suggestions down in the comments. Devs, if you watch this, please check out the comments. The community is going to be there. They're going to comment it up. Right now, they're probably doing it as I'm talking about this. What's your guys' suggestions for the ETF? If you were going to go there, what would be the first thing you bring up? And if you have a lot of lists, tell me your whole list, because I would definitely love for the devs to use this to look at, to go down in the comments and check out, like, okay, like, even though Jesimein didn't come, here's my contribution if you guys would have it, you know. I love you guys, by the way. But overall, that's pretty much what I would bring up. I mean, obviously, it will be new stuff that they'll be talking about and suggestions on that, so I can't really speak on that. I will speak on, you know, from the heart, what I feel as far as what would change, what I would do. I'm not a dev, but I play a lot of the game, and I understand a lot of what the community complains about, and I'm not biased on both ends, so I think that I have a pretty somewhat consistent standpoint on it. So as far as PvP, that's all I would talk about. There's really all the good things that we already like about it can stay. It's just those little few tweaks would bring it together, especially the diversity part. If you just bring diversity part, a lot of the problems can probably stay and people will be okay with it, but just bring it in. You know what I'm saying? Like more weapons, more gear is more fun. You know what I'm saying? And also buff the gear sets, because nobody's rocking full gear sets anymore. I miss that. Like, it will be, oh, he's rocking Pred, he's rocking Striker. Bring in PvP gear sets. Most of them PvE related, cool. Bring in some PvP dedicated gear sets for people who want to fight other players. Like how Banshee was PvP and it became really popular. Stuff like that. I think that would be a really good addition. I think you need to rework some of the current gear sets, because they're like tip of the spear. Don't really see a use for it. But I mean, I guess, I don't know. Maybe that's intended for PvE. But more PvP gear sets. Or you can bring a whole different type of set, right? Like, I don't know, assault sets that are like, gear sets can be for PvE, and then assault can be for PvP. You know what I'm saying? And they can be like, I don't know, what color? Orange? Purple? No, not purple. That's a rarity. I don't know. Like some kind of different color that shows that they're their own thing. And I think that would be really cool, and that can only be achieved by PvP methods, right? So these are PvP locked sets, because they don't have as much utility in PvE. So if you want to get in, go in. You know what I'm saying? I think that'll be really cool. And it'll also give PvP some exclusive feel, right? Because PvE can get everything. They get all the exotics are PvE based, except the Pestilence, and that's not even the best one. The best weapon in the game is you have to go through PvE. You know what I'm saying? So bring some PvP stuff where people have to hop in and give people a reason to cycle in. Even if they just come in to try to farm that, they're in that world as they come out. You know what I'm saying? And it keeps it fresh on both sides. I think that'll be really good. So that's pretty much it, you guys. That would be my what I would say if I went to the ETF. What I would bring up. Obviously, there's millions more. I would be spending days out there, and you know, conversations will come, suggestions will come, and we can talk on it. But off the top of my head, literally, that's what I would bring to the table. And if I missed anything, you guys, this is where you guys will go in the comments and be like, look, I'm a PvP player, I'm a PvE player, you missed this is what I would bring up, this is what you should brought up, this is what I want to make sure they see, because hopefully at least one of the devs will check out the comment section and watch this video and maybe, you know, get some suggestions. Who knows? Your suggestion in the comment might be the one that they be like, you know what, that's a good idea. So drop in the comments. Yeah. What would you guys make if you guys had access to all the files and developing of Title Update 6? What would you add? What would you not add? What would you change? What would you take out? What would you keep the same? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching, man. Hey, this has been Jeseimen's ETF video application. Hopefully a suggestion is heard. I love y'all. It's been real. Your boy, Eej out.